Hi everyone, I hope you're having a good day. Today I am so excited to share with you another one of our family favorite recipes, which are homemade pierogies. Okay, so for our pierogi recipe, you're going to need 2 eggs, 4 cups of flour, 1 tablespoon of butter softened, a pinch of salt, 1/2 to 3/4 cup of water, and a 1/2 cup of sour cream. You're also going to need mashed potatoes of your liking here. You can add cheddar cheese to the mashed potatoes. However you want to do it, you're going to need some mashed potatoes. Okay, so the mise en place for this recipe includes my eggs, my sour cream with a 1/2 cup dry measure and a spoon. I already measured out my soft butter, 2 tablespoons. I need a teaspoon measure for my salt, 1/2 to 3/4 cup of water, and I have my dry 1 cup measuring cup with my straight edge out for my flour, and I am going to use my KitchenAid stand mixer today. The first thing I'm going to need are 2 eggs, and don't forget we want to have a bowl out for our garbage. So I've got my garbage bowl ready to go. So I'm going to need 2 eggs. I'm going to crack them in this small cup. Okay, there's 1 egg. We're going to add that to our mixer bowl. Then we're going to add our second egg. And then the next ingredient is 4 cups of flour. So I'm using all-purpose flour. And like I've showed you this week, we're going to scoop and scrape our flour, just like you've been learning in class, guys. So we're going to scrape it. We need 4 cups. This dough is going to be very thick. It's supposed to be like a noodle dough. 3 and 4. So we have 4 cups of flour. I'm going to need my flour in a little while when I knead my dough. So I'm going to go ahead and leave the cup right here in the flour so it's there. All right. The next ingredient is butter. So I'm going to add my tablespoon of butter. I need a pinch of salt. So just a pinch of salt. And then finally, I'm going to need 1/2 cup of sour cream. So to put this in a dry measure, I'm just going to scoop it out and plop it in. Sour cream is going to give a richness to our pierogi dough, and it's also going to help with our bites. It's going to help make it softer to bite. So I'm not going to add the water at this time, but I am going to lock my mixer and I'm going to mix, and then I'm going to slowly pour in my water to make my dough. And this recipe calls for a 1/2 cup to 3/4 cup of water. A little bit more. You can kind of see it's coming together. We definitely want it to be a dough and not crummy. We're giving it a good mix. All right, so that looks good. So guys, I'm using my mixer just to save on some of my arm strength. This is a really hard dough to mix by hand, and I just find that it's easier to use my mixer, and that's why I've used it. So I used probably a little less than 3/4 cup of water for my recipe. It all depends also how much water you're going to need on the humidity in your kitchen. All right, and so here we go. I'm going to go ahead and knead this for about 3 minutes. Pierogi dough. Just going to go ahead and knead it until it's elastic, which it's already almost there, but this is really going to give all of our stuff a good mix, and it's going to be all combined. Ladies and gentlemen, when you knead, we are really using the bottom of our hands to press and push into that dough. So we're really using all of our arm strength to do this. My great-grandmother used to knead her bread and her pizza crust. I remember when I was a kiddo, I'd be at her house and she would be kneading. That woman had some mega upper arm strength. Grandma Polly sure knew how to knead her breads. So we're just going to knead it. Okay, so I have kneaded my bread for about 3 minutes. I am then going to spray down a bowl with some nonstick cooking spray. I'm gonna plop it into the bowl. I'm gonna flip it over once. Okay, so now I am ready to get our pierogies rolled out and filled so then I can get them boiled for our meal. So I'm gonna get a large pan of water and I'm gonna go ahead and turn it on high heat, and we're gonna wait for that to boil to put our pierogies in. So while that's coming to a boil, come on over here. There are a few things you're going to need for your pierogies. You're gonna need the dough, a rolling pin, a large mouthed glass is what I usually use to make them. Some flour, because we're going to be rolling out our dough. And I'm cheating a little bit here, guys. I'm going to go ahead and use the already prepared mashed potatoes that Bob Evans makes, just because we have them in the fridge and good a time as any to use them. So this is going to be my filling today. So all I'm going to do is open those up, and they're ready to go right away, which is really cool. Okay, one last thing I'm going to need. I'm going to need a pan to put my pierogies on, and also a fork, and I'll show you what I'll need that for here in just a second. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and open up our dough. I'm not going to roll all of this out at once. I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle some flour on my counter. You can get a cutting board out and put some out if that makes you happy. You can do it that way. I just roll it right out on my counter. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and make sure there's some flour on my counter. It's on both sides of the dough. And I'm gonna take my rolling pin. All right, chef students, remember when we use a rolling pin, our first instinct is to really hold the handles, but I don't really want you to do that. I just want you to kind of go from the middle and out. That way that rolling pin is evenly used throughout your dough. We don't want super thick pierogi dough. And as you can see, it's very elastic, it's stretchy. Just gonna keep rolling. Oh, that dough is perfect. All right, a little bit longer here. Really want to get that thin. You don't want it too thick because it's not, it'll be kind of chewy when you go to bite it. So we want a nice thin pierogi dough. So I can feel up here that it's kind of thick. I'm going to go ahead and stretch it out. All right. Can you get that camera a little closer? So that's about the width or the thickness of your pierogi dough. Okay? What is that thickness? What do you think? 1/8 of an inch?
Yeah, about 1/8 of an inch.
All right, so it's about 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so then I'm going to take my cup and I want to cut pierogi circles. I know the recipe says make squares. My family always made circles, so that's where we're going with it. All right. I want to keep my circles as close to the ones that I'm cutting as I possibly can. That way I can get as many circles out of my dough as I can. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. Now, we're not going to throw away this excess dough. We're going to just put it in our bowl, and we're going to use it here in a little bit to re-roll for more pierogi. Okay, so the next step is I'm going to take my rolling pin, and I'm going to make these just a little thinner because they start to squish back up as they sit. So I'm just going to give them a quick roll. All right. Just like this. All right. And then I'm going to take a little bit of the mashed potatoes. Just a little bit of the mashed potatoes. You can add cheese to this. I'm just going to do some plain ones right now. You can add cheese, you can add dill, you can add sauerkraut to your potatoes. Okay? And then what you're going to do is just much like the stromboli, it looks like a little potato dough taco. Just pick it up. And you're really going to pinch it. Pinch it real super tight. We want that dough, okay? We want that dough to squish together so when I boil my little sweet gems, all the potato doesn't fall out of it, okay? So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this fork after I pinch, and I'm going to go ahead and crimp it with the fork. until I'm all the way done. So that's my pierogi, guys. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing I did with this guy to all the other ones on my counter. I'm gonna continue to roll out dough, and in a little bit, I'll show you the next step. I have our pierogies ready to go. I also have a pan of rolling, boiling water, super hot, be careful. I have a little bit of butter melted in a small fry pan. I'm just gonna make a couple of these right now and show you how to do it. So if I were making these for dinner, I'd be using my large fry pan, but for time purposes, this is what I'm gonna do. I am also have out here, I have a pancake turner, a spoon, or if you have a hand sieve, this is how I scoop them out and put them into the water, or excuse me, the butter. So, all right, let's do this. So I went ahead and pinched my pierogies, and I put this plate in the fridge while I pinched the other pan, that way they're cold. And then we're just gonna very carefully, you don't wanna overcrowd your pierogies in your boiling water. I'm just gonna cook 2 at this time. If you could pan the camera over here, you can see that they are boiling in the water, and we will know they are ready to take out in approximately 3 to 4 minutes. They should be floating. So I'm gonna go ahead and put our timer on 4 minutes, and we're gonna let those cook. Once they float to the top, I'm gonna scoop them out of the water and then set them in my melted butter. You do not need to fry these in butter. You could eat them you could eat them boiled, and they're very good that way as well. So we're gonna give it 3 minutes. Okay, so as you can see, our pierogies are now floating to the top of the pan. And I would probably only put 4 pierogies in a pan at a time to do this step, just so they have lots of room to move around and boil and cook all the way through. Okay, so our next step, our next step is to drain the water off. And you could do this way, or you can do it just with a spoon and just lightly put it on the edge of the pan. Try to get as much water off as possible. And then you're gonna transfer them over to a pan with some melted butter. Oh, to make this even better, guys, I would totally have some onion sauteing in there, because you know how I am. I love my onions, and I want that flavor component on there. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of move them around in the butter, let them get kind of toasted on the side. All right. Get a good toast on. Using my pancake turner, I'm gonna go ahead and give them a flip. All right, my family, some of my family loves them toasted, real crispy on the outside, and the gooey potato on the inside. But I prefer them just a light toast, because I want to be able to taste the potatoes and not have a bunch of fried dough. But everybody's tastes are different, so just gonna give them some time in the buttery goodness. That butter is going to add some flavor to your pierogi as well. Okay, so once they're done, just give them a turn. See, it's got a light crisp to it. All right. It smells so good. It's such a treat to have pierogies this time of year, because I usually only make them at New Year's time. So it's definitely a treat for our family to be enjoying these tonight. All right, guys, so once you, ooh, look how pretty that brown is. That's exactly what I'm going for. Do I need to tilt it a little bit? Yeah, that's a little good. All right, so that's a perfect browned pierogi. My great-grandfather from Croatia. This is definitely a holiday tradition. We'd all get together and make pierogi together. All right, we're gonna turn our heat off. So, so we have homemade pierogi. It took me about an hour from start to finish to get this done. Definitely something, guys, try it. Try it. Mrs. T's makes a mean pierogi, but there's just such satisfaction and accomplishment in making your own homemade pierogies. So I hope you guys have a great day. Bon appetit.